Silvernagle Real Estate team. This is my wife, Jennifer, productivity coach and realtor at Keller Williams Realty Centers. I'm from Keller Williams Referred. Together we have 12 and 13 years in the real estate business, and this is our morning show.
Yeah, this is the show where we're going to bring you all the real estate news that we think you need to know, and we're going to do it over coffee.
That's right. And so normally we post this show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the Treb stats came out this week, so we figured we'd do one extra episode just so we could get in there and it is fresh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start us off jumping right into some of the numbers. The important thing you need to know about is average price and sales are both up year over year, which is fantastic news. And I've got a quote here that I want to give you from Jason Mercer, who is Treb's Director of Market Analysis. We only have slightly more than 2.5 months of inventory in the Treb market area as a whole, and less than 2 months of inventory in the city of Toronto. This means that despite the fact the sales remain off the record highs from 2016 and 2017, many GTA neighborhoods continue to suffer from lack of inventory. This could present a problem if demand continues to accelerate over the next year, which is what is expected.
Yeah.
So, all that is saying, we're not seeing the sales that we were seeing from 2016 and 2017, but our inventory numbers are similar. So, it could lead back to another situation where prices go on the rise.
Right, if our inventory gets too low, then we get back into low supply, high demand, and then we get back into multiples.
Exactly.
Right.
And so to just qualify that statement a little bit, he is looking at all of the Toronto Real Estate Board. If you look at specific areas, like if you look at York Region, for example, they have 4.6 months of inventory. So
Right.
This isn't a statement that crosses all neighborhoods. This is just a generalized thing. Everywhere's a little different.
Overall average.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So let's hop into the numbers just real quick, kind of take a look at where we are. I think we're in a very healthy market right now. It's pretty stable. We are above 2017's average price since June, both June, July, August, all above last year's prices.
Good.
It's great news.
Yeah.
When we take a look at sales, we're just barely above where we were last year, but still up over the August that was last year.
Right.
Last year for August was 6,357 sales, compared to August this year was 6,839.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when we go into September and we're kind of forecasting forward a little bit, what are we looking for sales-wise? Last year, there was no real change from August to September. There were like 50 sales different.
Which is interesting.
Yeah,
considering September is usually a much bigger month.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think last year we were still dealing with, figuring out where we were from the announcement and all that.
Yeah.
I think this year, we're going to see more sales in September. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that will be the case between interest rates staying stable and the market being at a bit of a more concrete level. Like we know where we stand.
Yeah.
Everyone's adjusted. I would expect that we see a more traditional fall market where we see that growth from the summer
Come
months.
back to how it normally would be.
Yeah.
And when we look at new listings, we're about where we should be seasonally. We were 11,500 last year. We were 12,166 this year for August.
Okay.
Very normal. September last year, we saw an increase to 16,469. That's a little bit more normal to see a jump of new listings from the summer months to the fall.
Right, yeah.
So I think we're going to see that again, I would assume.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what impact that'll have knowing that we have that extra inventory too, right? I mean, I know it's not a lot, but there are still some properties out there that haven't sold yet. So
Exactly.
if we do get that big influx, what does that mean?
What does that look like? So kind of to wrap it all up, for the month of September, we're anticipating we're going to see that average price increase as we do every year in our year over year.
Yeah.
September is always higher than August.
Right.
Sellers will be happy about that. I think we're going to see more inventory come on. We're going to see more new listings, so that'll be more choice for buyers.
Right.
I think they'll be happy about that.
Yeah.
And sales-wise, I think we're going to see a little bit more. It's kind of both of our predictions so far.
Yeah.
And that'll make realtors happy. So
Everybody wins.
everybody wins for the month of September.
Don't get to say that too often.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we jump into your articles that you brought for today?
Yeah, for sure. So the first article I have is actually regarding Airbnb properties or
Okay.
properties like an Airbnb, short-term rentals in the Toronto market. What the article discusses is the fact that a council vote last December, 40-3, voted
Big
that
numbers,
they
yeah.
wanted to regulate the short-term rental market in the GTA.
Okay.
The meeting, in order to set what that would look like, was supposed to be done in August. It got delayed by a year. So essentially, at this point, no change is going to happen, which means we continue on the same way. It's kind of the wild, wild west. Some people are a little bit upset about this because they're feeling, they wanted those regulations in place. Just so you know, the regulations were that you would pay $50 a year in order to register that you had a short-term rental property, and you could only rent it out for 180 days out of the year in a short-term capacity.
Right.
So these people that wanted this to get passed and want it done sooner than later are upset. They feel that this is impacting the rental rates of their long-term rental properties, and they're not happy about the fact that there's going to be a year delay.
Right.
Essentially.
Okay. I mean, not much of a change there. I think the people that are upset about it, you mentioned there in the article, they mentioned it's affecting long-term rental rates.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's true. The rental market's super tight, both in the GTA and outside of it. So I think that's nonsense.
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of par for the course, right? Nothing's really changing. Just the meeting that was supposed to happen got delayed. I think the one thing I will comment on it before we jump to the next article is just that, for people that own long-term rental properties, I don't think you should be focused on concern about what it's going to do for your rental rates. I'd be more concerned about if you have a property in a building where there's a lot of those types of units,
right.
What's that going to do to your property value as a whole long-term, right? And I think they're just thinking short-sighted.
I would have liked to see that argument in the article more so, and say, hey, I'm worried about my property values, because those are the people that I'd want to make sure we're protected with this legislation.
Yeah.
As opposed to long-term income properties, right?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
They're just fine.
Yeah, and let's face it, rental properties are doing great right now. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you got next for me?
All right, next one, cool addition to Realtor.ca. There's a new feature that got put into Realtor.ca over the course of the summer.
Okay.
They don't specify, I'm assuming it's August. But basically what it is that the properties now on Realtor.ca, when you search for them, they're actually going to list the school that the home is in the district for.
Okay.
So instead of having to go find out that information as a secondary step, it's going to be right up front on the actual page of the listing. Even more cool than that is the fact that it's a filter feature now as well. So you can actually go into Realtor.ca and pick that as a filter, put in the school, and then only the homes in that school catchment will populate for you. So, I mean, other than that, that's really all the article is. It's just telling us that that's out there now.
Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. We know that people searching for houses by school district is very common in our business. Families are, very concerned, and it's a lot of value to them knowing that their kids are at the school that they want. So I think having that functionality on Realtor.ca as opposed to a third-party site is a great thing.
Right. Yeah. And my opinion, same. I think it's awesome. I think that it's information that has been harder to find, and it should have been always, I think, up front, because it's such a big factor in our market and each neighborhood specifically. They actually state on here that that tool, since they've launched it, is 5 times more popular than any other filter on the site. So that'll just go to tell you how much people love that. And on top of that, the only other thought I have on this is that, as far as I know, as realtors, we don't have that in our search system.
No,
so I hope
that
Stratus gets on board and kind of figures out that, hey, even for collab, this is a tool we should have. Right?
Agents, if you're out there and you've seen this on Stratus, let us know, because we haven't noticed it. And our clients love collab. It's the main one that I use now, and then I just go into Stratus because I'm still used to that format for getting my information on listings, so I'll switch over to that for that. Yeah. But if I could get that functionality into collab for my clients, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, and for them to make it easier for them to search if they have specific parameters.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Exactly. What do you got next for me?
All right, last one for me is a poll that was actually taken by CIBC, done across Canada. So I want to be clear about that in regard to some of the numbers in here. This is Canada-wide, not just the GTA. Basically, what they did was they took a poll in regard to income properties and ownership of income properties or properties where there's shared space. Right. And what they're finding is that millennials of all categories are the ones with the highest level of interest in these properties or already ownership in these properties. So millennials are at 47% in regard to already have or plan to as their first purchase, whereas the demographic of 35 to 54 are at around 29%, and then 55 plus at 12%.
Wow.
Yeah, that number
very
threw
low
me.
For that one.
So I thought this was a cool article. I love the idea that millennials are thinking smart. And that, to me, what it says is that they're approaching real estate a little bit differently than, perhaps, I don't know if we're considered millennials or not. I guess we're on the back end.
Just on the cusp there. Yeah.
Whether, than people maybe of the previous generations did. And then it goes on to discuss that, Canadians who own separate income properties actually earn on average $2,200 a month from those properties. So it can cut your monthly housing expense by 70%.
Wow.
It's a huge number.
Yeah, it's a
Again,
huge number.
Not GTA. I don't think the numbers would quite work out that well. But that's basically the idea of the article.
Yeah, I think at first when you say that they had the biggest percentage there, thinking specifically GTA, it's a little confusing because you're like, man, half of these guys can't afford housing. How are they getting income housing? Why are they thinking that? But you think Canada-wide makes a lot of sense. Also makes sense, for affordability that if they buy something where they can get help like that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think it was really our generation of parents that were the first ones to build a lot of wealth through real estate.
Yeah.
And I feel like that definitely got passed on to the kids, and now the kids coming up are like, hey, this is a good vehicle to make some money on. I got to get one anyway.
Yeah.
Let's build some wealth.
Let's do something. Yeah. I would say the same thing. My final thought on this one is I think it's exposure.
Yeah.
I think, HGTV, the internet, all that sort of stuff. There's the Property Brothers, there's Income Properties, there's shows about it. So that exposure is at a higher level than it's ever been before. So, the concept of it being a good idea is in your face more than ever. And on top of that, it answers the affordability issue that we were talking about, right? So, income properties are very popular. They always will be. And good for millennials.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's your 3, is that right?
That's my 3.
Okay, so I'm going to hop back in here. And speaking of affordability,
look at that.
Yeah, look at that, right? I found one on affordability that stuck out. I thought was kind of neat. So the National Bank Affordability Report was published this week, and it revealed a 12th consecutive quarterly decline. So 12 quarters consecutively, all declined in terms of affordability. We know that it's for a long time now, pricing going up. It's been harder and harder for people to buy. We had a little blip in our pricing here, and then rates go up. Yeah. So affordability is not getting any easier for anybody.
Yeah, it's getting hit on both sides.
Yeah, no surprise there, right?
Yeah.
So the surprise comes when I started reading through which ones were becoming least affordable. You usually expect Toronto and Vancouver, right?
Yeah, maybe Montreal.
Yeah. So listen to these ones. The biggest decline was in Victoria at 1.5%, then Quebec City at 0.8%. Montreal at 0.4%, and Calgary at 0.2%, while Toronto and Winnipeg show slight increases in affordability. That's crazy. I mean, we're talking about very small percentages here.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, we're not talking about drastic numbers or anything like that, especially because we're going quarter to quarter.
Right.
But the fact that they mentioned 0.2 for Calgary, and then when they mention Toronto and Winnipeg's gains, they say slight increase.
They don't mention the amount.
Are we talking about a 0.0001% increase in affordability?
Yeah, less than 0.2.
Less than 0.2 and more than 0.
Right, okay.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I really took from the article that I thought was really cool was the discussion about how long it takes first-time home buyers to save at current prices and, the money that they need down and income, right?
Right, yeah.
And so this article gave me some of those numbers based on averages and, the calculations they did. I wouldn't say it's, don't take it to church or anything like that, but it's good for a frame of reference. Yeah. So a new home buyer would need to save for 111 months at a saving rate of 10% to afford the down payment on their representative home, which the number they gave was $897,747 in Toronto, and would require an income of $160,000. Crazy numbers.
So okay, 111 months at 10%.
Savings
per month.
Yep.
And you need to be making at least $160,000.
Yeah.
In order to buy a house.
Yeah.
All right.
Not happening.
That's a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, and then they switch it over in the article to for a condo. This cut down to 45 months of savings for a purchase price of $512,000 and an income of $91,000.
Okay, so I mean that sounds more reasonable. It also is a huge explanation as to what's happening in the condo market, where we're seeing that kind of really start to boom a lot, as all of this other stuff has been going on, especially with the higher priced homes because of the affordability levels. So then the big question is, how long will the condos stay affordable at this rate?
At this
rate,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing, kind of looking at it, so now it's 2 years before you can buy this home at $512,000. Well, what's happening to that condo in that 2 years, right? This formula that we're looking at here makes me think of the guys that do the minimum amount on their credit card,
Right.
and then you find out if you just paid your minimum amount, it'd be like 10 years before you ever actually paid off the credit card because of the growth in the interest rate being accrued. Well, that's the growth in your home value. So it's just not happening.
And it begs in the question, do you wait and try to save that 20%?
Yes.
Or do you
Yes.
do you pull the trigger faster? And I think at least my opinion would be, well, if you can get in, get in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's in an upswinging market, and in general, especially in these big hubs where we know that the values are going to typically maintain pretty well or go up. Other than what we've kind of seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been like 10 years of growth, so let's not fret over the last 12 months or whatever.
Exactly.
But you got to get in as soon as you have the ability. As soon as they say, "Hey, this is how much you can afford," you got to get your foot in the door, because once you're in, then it's all relative. Prior to that, you're dealing with adding on 111 months, where it could just get so impossible.
Well, you just never catch up, but you can't chase the market in that regard, right? It's not possible. So.
My last article for the day is just about marijuana becoming legalized, and then home insurance. I saw a couple articles. They're all mostly opinion pieces. There wasn't a lot of real substance to them because we don't know what that legislation looks like yet.
Right.
And so the gist of them was, you're probably going to see premiums on your home insurance if you're growing marijuana at home. Obviously, if you don't mention to your insurer that you're growing marijuana at home and something happens, probably not getting covered.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The insurance company's not going to cover you for that.
General rule of thumb, just disclose.
Yeah.
Just disclose. It's safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, without any real, concrete information, is there anything you want to add to that?
Not really. I mean, just a quick thought that, the government's going to legislate it. They're going to regulate it. The standard lease is going to change. The rules of what will be okay versus what's not okay, they're all going to come into place. So let's stop speculating.
Let's get the
speculating
info.
Exhausts me. Let's get the info. Let's get it solid. Let's see what the government says, and then we can discuss it, right?
Yeah. And that's that. So that is our bonus episode for today. Normally we're going to be posting these on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Here's our bonus one for Saturday morning.
Yeah. Other than that, if you want to read more about the articles where we referenced, or you want to get more detail, the links are down in the description. So you can go there, click on the link, it'll take you right to the website. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you don't miss all the topics we're going to be talking about. And other than that, have a great rest of the weekend, and thanks for joining us.